welcome to another episode of LSVT Global's podcast, Think Big and Loud, where we share inspiring stories, expert insights, and engaging conversations, all designed to empower and uplift the lives of individuals with neurological conditions and those who love and support them. My name is Beth Peterson, and I will be your host. Today's guest is Michelle Haub, a dedicated speech language pathologist and special programs leader at Meadowlark Continued Care Community in Manhattan, Kansas. And for nearly 2 decades, Michelle has transformed Parkinson's and memory care in Kansas, integrating evidence-based therapies like LSVT Loud and expanding the Meadowlark Parkinson's program into a vital multi-county resource. Her leadership extends to innovative memory care, education, and support programs that have empowered countless families. So in honor of May being National Speech Language Hearing Month, we're excited to celebrate Michelle's impact and the essential role of communication in our lives. So Michelle, welcome to the show today.
Thank you very much, Beth, and thank you for that lovely introduction. And it's a real honor to be able to be here with you today.
Oh, well, great. Well, and hopefully I got it all right. I was just telling Michelle that I'm amazed by all that she does. So it's hard to just summarize it in a quick little intro, and we'll go into a little more depth here. So I'd like to just start with kind of your background and your motivation. So what inspired you to pursue speech language pathology, and then what led you to really focus your career on neurodegenerative conditions like Parkinson's and dementia?
Yes, so I have a younger brother who has Williams syndrome. And so growing up, I attended several of his physical and occupational therapy appointments, but nothing really stuck to me then. But I always just had this concept of always wanting to kind of help others or always babysitting, doing something to be involved with other people. And then in college at Fort Hays State University, I was pretty much floundering in the accounting department. And so I had a great work advisor there who just really took the time to sit down and listen to what my interests were. And she said, you need to go check out the speech pathology program. So I got enrolled in the Intro to Communication Disorders class, and I was hooked from the very basically the first minute of class.
Yeah.
And so then I just continued to enjoy that and was able to go on and do the master's degree. And then getting into the more of the neurodegenerative diseases really is because of LSVT. I've had the pleasure and the amazing opportunity to be able to work in basically every setting that we as speech pathologists have opportunities to work in across all of the age spans. But after doing LSVT Loud training, it really did, it just grew on me. I just had this an instant attachment to it. And then taking it back here to Manhattan Junction City area and starting to implement and just see how much communication truly impacts those lives of individuals with these neurodegenerative diseases.
Wow. So that's cool. So LSVT Loud is a part of that journey for you to get where you are today. That's really neat.
Yeah, absolutely. There's truly no way that I would be doing what I've been doing the last 20 years without LSVT Loud training.
Well, that's, of course, we love to hear that. So thanks for sharing that. And then, so how have you integrated LSVT Loud into the work you do at Meadowlark?
So when I started working as a therapist at Meadowlark, we were given the opportunity. Well, our CEO said, hey, does anybody have anything they want to do? And I said, I really want to try to do something with Parkinson's. And he said, okay, put together a team and see what you can do. So we started right then and there with the basic principle of LSVT and finding those key players in the people's lives to really build. And that all stems around the interdisciplinary model. So we created a multidisciplinary team as a leadership team and as a training team. So we had PT, ST, nursing, social work, dietitian, all on our team. And then we added in an internal medicine doctor to be our advisor. And from there, then had the rest of our PTs, OTs become LSVT trained as that became an option. And the other big element of that was the Parkinson's Foundation had a training and accreditation at that time. And so that really helped kickstart us into being able to set ourselves apart. Even though we were the only ones in the state of Kansas at that time, it still really gave us that identity, and it helped to give us that framework for, this is quality care, and falling in line with the Meadowlark philosophy of person-centered care. It really was the perfect fit for creating this whole entire program that started out really small and has just snowballed into some really great things.
Wow. Well, great. Well, before we get into all the amazing programs that you're doing, do you mind sharing a story or any kinds of changes that you've seen and people that you've treated with LSVT Loud?
Yeah, so I think overall in general, one of the greatest benefits of LSVT training with our folks is that you have that structure to see them 4 days a week for 4 weeks, and getting the opportunity to really become immersed in their lives and that saliency of treatment. That that's your responsibility. It's your job to figure out what's going to make them want to work and to make those changes. And I think that ultimately is the basis of our program. Over time, our folks with Parkinson's are being told by other disciplines or nurses or family or physicians that they can't do something. You can't drive, or you can't be alone, or you can't walk. The risks are too great. And yet, as speech therapists, we get to be the ones that say, oh, yes, you can. You can be loud. You can order in a restaurant. You can say what you want to do for yourself. And just watching people transform from, the first couple of sessions to like, I don't feel like myself anymore. So much has been taken away. I can't be heard. I don't want to venture out. I don't want to take chances because of the rejection, because of the isolation. And when they do LSVT Loud, they don't feel that anymore. They realize that they still have that voice and they still can be heard and be that independent soul that they've always been. So it's just, I think ultimately that's what it boils down to, is being able to tell people and show people, give them the skills so that they are in control. They can make their own differences in their own lives. And then that transforms into how their peers, their family, their friends view them as well.
Yeah, I love how you describe that you're giving them some control back. Yeah, so much has been taken away, and now you're empowering them with something that they can do and they can control. So that's thank you for sharing that, the way that you transform those lives. That was really well put.
Thank you.
So I wanted to get back into the kinds of programs that you're doing. So I know you're really the driving force behind the Meadowlark Parkinson's program, I think since 2006. Is that right?
Yes, we are going into we're in our 19th year. Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. So, from my understanding, it started as a single support group, and now it's this comprehensive regional resource. Can you walk us through some of the different, I know that you have classes, therapies, support networks, and some of the community offerings that kind of make up this Parkinson's program that you have?
Yes, absolutely. So yes, you are correct. We started with a single support group, and we actually learned really quickly that the word support group really put off a lot of people. So we over time changed that, and it's now our education group. And that also helped us to build one of our foundations, which is education plus exercise plus engagement equals empowerment. And so I know there's a lot of different organizations out there that have similar concepts, but over the last almost 20 years, that really has been our guiding principle. And the other thing is that it's all free. So we have never charged anything for any of our programs, any of our services. So we've been very fortunate in that. So as we started with that support group, then we added, or education group as it evolved, then we added a single exercise class. And then those exercise classes expanded as we continued to get more training and learning more. And of course, that hands-on interaction that we had with more and more people with Parkinson's allowed us to, get that feedback. So we knew what our folks were needing and wanting. And then I started doing voice classes, and I partner with our local university here to have students every semester that work with me to do that voice group. And then we've tried a dancing class over the years. We have a young onset group, which is another thing that is really, it's been a big flagship for the community here, because that's just such a unique situation for people. So yeah, we reach 28 different counties presently in the state of Kansas, and many of those people will drive, an hour or more to attend some of the classes that we provide. And then we also do most everything in a hybrid format. So if people don't feel like hopping in the car and driving an hour to attend one of our boxing classes, then they can do that in their own home on Zoom, while other people are in our space doing it live in person.
Oh, so then you don't have to be a resident at Meadowlark to be part of the program.
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
And that's something that it took us a long time to really get that cemented into the community. But no, anybody throughout the Flint Hills region and beyond is able to attend our programs. So in fact, about 70% of the people that participate in our programs live out in the community. Only about 30% live either in healthcare or in an assisted living or an independent living apartment at Meadowlark.
Okay, well, that's good. So I'll put in the show notes at the end, I'll make sure to link your website. So for those in
Yeah.
in that region, if they want to get in touch and learn more about the programs, we'll make sure they
Yeah.
have access to that, since you don't have to be a resident at Meadowlark.
Yes.
Okay, well, that's great. And then, so the other part of your program development is now, I understand you've taken leadership of a memory program since I think around 2016. And then you have weekly memory education classes, memory cafe gatherings. I think there was also music in memory. So can you share how those different components are working together to support those living with dementia and their families, and really just kind of the impact it's had on community connection?
Yes, absolutely. I think, this has been another one of the great things of being a speech language pathologist is our our understanding of communication and how the brain works and socialization is so wide that it gave me the opportunity to not just focus on the voice or swallowing, but to also broaden into the memory and cognition components of things. So about 11 years ago, Meadowlark asked if I would add on the creation of a memory program to follow in the footsteps of the Parkinson's program. So basically using a lot of the same tenets that we did for that creation to do the memory program. So I teach a memory class once a week, and then that's open to, again, to anybody. And there is a lot of overlap in our memory program with people that have Parkinson's. So it really just gives them even more people to be able to communicate with and to create connections with. And then the Memory Cafe, that's led by one of our social workers, and she does more of the reminiscing and storytelling types of things in there, while I then lead a care partner support group for people with dementia. And so, I think that's one of the other things that's so important with these neurodegenerative diseases is that we have to take care of the whole family. It's not just the person living with the diagnosis that is trying to manage life, and that care partner or that son or that daughter or that sister. They all need to understand the symptoms that person diagnosed is experiencing and learn how to better communicate, how to better change the environment so that the loved one with the diagnosis can have the most success and the most level of independence.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great. I think that's a really wonderful approach that you're doing. So, I feel like you hear about holistic care, but then you take it, I feel like, even a step further, the whole family care, so that it's optimized, the communication and other components are optimized for everyone. So that's a really amazing model that you have.
And I think thank you. And I think another thing that helps with that also is that we have really kind of stacked a lot of our opportunities. So, for example, we have a caring conversations group for our people with Parkinson's. So they gather and eat lunch and just share what's happening in their lives. Some days it's, talking all about the triumphs. Other days it's, really just beating down Parkinson's. But the goal is to always then figure out, all right, what's something that we can move forward with? So we've never been one of those organizations that we sit around and feel sorry for ourselves or try to have win the award for the worst situation. We definitely share those hard times. And then we try to figure out how can we maximize this current situation. So that's what that caring conversations and how we work all of our care partner groups too. But while we're having caring conversations, the care partners are having an informal social lunch as well. And then the people with Parkinson's can go to the exercise class, to the Parkinson's exercise class, while the care partners then can have their own care partner support group that's facilitated by my colleague, Katie. So we really try to stack things so that people they can come to Meadowlark, they can both participate and yet both get the different levels of support that they need. And we, again, emulated that with our memory program by offering the Memory Café for those loved ones with dementia at the same time that we have our caregivers group for those with dementia.
I would imagine that helps with attendance too. If you can stack it, if everyone can go at the same time, then you get, that's just this part of their weekly plan or however often it is for everybody to get on
Yes.
board. Yeah, that's
Yes.
great. Well, and you were mentioning, so I think you said you serve 28 counties now. And from what I understand, it's really the only kind of comprehensive free program of its kind in Kansas. So how did you expand the access so widely, and what does that mean for families all over the region?
So that's a really good question. I think I'm going to go back to a little bit of our creation and give some of that credit to our very first gentleman with Parkinson's that was on our leadership team, and his name was Don Rasmussen. And he was from Western Kansas. And when we started creating our program here, he had almost a sense of guilt that he was here and able to benefit from our services, but yet people but people back in his community in Western Kansas that had Parkinson's had no support. And so he really helped to instill, I think, more a sense of confidence in us that we could reach more than just the people within our, 2 or 3 county area. And so recognizing that there are so many underserved communities when it comes to Parkinson's and dementia, that now with technology, we have the ability to reach out and to help more of those individuals. So I think that it all is credit to the dream and dedication of Don and him instilling that confidence in our leadership team that even after his passing, we can still forge forth and help others that may not have the location opportunities that we have here in Manhattan.
Yeah, so it's neat. It's kind of like he opened like an outside the box type thinking for you. Oh, it doesn't have to be constrained here. we can
Yes.
expand. Let's figure out how. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
that's great. I mean, it's neat because hopefully it's a model that, potentially other places could emulate as well.
Yes.
And then I wanted to ask you about the Young Onset Parkinson's group that you facilitate. So I think you've been doing that for over a decade, and the only
Yeah.
consistent group in Kansas for that. So what unique needs do younger people with Parkinson's face, and how do you address that?
Yes. So, the individuals with younger onset diagnosis, they're trying to manage so much from, raising their own family, maybe at that time, trying to manage a full time job, the household responsibilities. A lot of them are in that sandwich era, just like myself, where you're trying to raise a family and you're trying to help your parents navigate these health challenges. And on top of that, they're trying to manage their own health changes and all of those stresses and worries. So that really does create a completely different lifestyle from those of our residents or patients or community members that are diagnosed later after retirement years. And then the other part of that is they have to figure out, how am I going to take off of work to go to doctor's appointments, much less go to education meetings or go to exercise classes. So it's really been our mission with that to just try to make things much more accessible for them. So our monthly meetings are in the evenings. We also meet at locations off of our Meadowlark campus. And that's because, you know, it's one thing to be diagnosed with Parkinson's, and it's another thing to have this like shadow on you that because you're diagnosed with Parkinson's, that you're automatically older, right? You're automatically an elder. Well, our folks aren't. We have a gentleman that's 27 years old. He doesn't want to have to think about, what are my living conditions going to be in 50 years, right? He wants to focus on, what can I do with my Parkinson's right now? And so that's why we really focus on, getting people to be off of our campus and to learn about all of those challenges with navigating younger onset.
Yeah, and I'm sure that supportive environment, letting them know they're not alone, there's other people facing this. I'm sure that's all helpful to kind of, again, optimize that quality of life.
I think another thing that has really set that apart for our group too is that it's not just for the person that's diagnosed. It's for the care partner. It's for the children. So we often have other family members attending with the person with Parkinson's at our younger onset. And so I think that helps continue that community, that sense of community, and you're not alone in this. We've had a couple of our care partners say that those meetings are really hard for them because it just puts it all in your face. You can't deny it when you're sitting in a room with other people and seeing it and talking about it. And yet they realize that this is their life and they need that support. They need to see it with other people so they know they're not alone.
Oh, yeah. Well, what a great resource you are for that too.
Thank you.
I also wanted to ask you a little bit about some of the events that you lead that seem fun. So there's some major events, the Pig Out for Parkinson's and the Speedy PD race. And I see that you've raised nearly $1 million since 2008 for that.
Yes.
So can you tell us a little bit more about those events? How do they support your mission? And are there any kind of moments that stand out as being especially meaningful for those?
Yes. Oh, there are so many moments, as I'm sure you can imagine. This year is our 17th year for the Speedy PD race for Parkinson's disease. And we have grown from the first couple of years, we had it on the Meadowlark Hills campus and we ran back in the K-State agriculture fields. And we had 112 people. And this last year in 2024, we had 936 people.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
Yeah. And we've really grown. I think the thing that really sets that event apart is that our VIPDs, our very important people with Parkinson's disease, are the whole purpose for that event. They have shirts that say win every round. And that's going back to that philosophy of, Parkinson's may win the final battle. It may win the fight, but by golly, our folks with Parkinson's are going to win every round. And so they're featured. They're the reason that we are all there. And it's such a special opportunity. We have people that make it a family reunion. We have team competitions, and we just really try to celebrate the bond that Parkinson's has given us. And so it's just, I don't know, I could talk about it all day. But it really is a very special event. And so we have a 1/2-mile memorial walk, and then we have a 5K and a 10K, and they're both certified courses. And then also we have added the virtual component to that. So Beth, you could do it while you're in Colorado. You could go out to Arizona, wherever you want to go.
Yeah.
And so you can do that virtually. And again, that also helps our loved ones, our VIPDs, to see the support of their family. When they're here and they're walking and they have family members that are up in Montana and they're doing the 5K in honor of them. It just really is a special event.
Yeah, special seems like a good word for that. They feel special. Yeah, that's really neat. Sorry, you were going to say something else about it.
No, that's okay. And then yes, I do want to say one other thing. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I get giddy. It's really silly, but another thing that really sets our race apart is that our VIPDs and their care partners or friends make artwork. We work with the local K-State Beach Museum of Art, and they have classes. So we're kind of trying to capitalize on that creativity and fine motor types of things. And so we have classes during the summer. And then that artwork that our VIPDs create is framed, and those are our awards for the winners of the age group awards in the 5K and 10K. And so, that's been, it's been so special. We have runners that like, they're like, oh my gosh, I trained so hard for this race because I want one of those pieces of art.
Yeah.
And that gives our VIPDs so much pride as well. They feel like they're able to give back to the community that's raising money for them to be able to partake in exercise and education. So it's just really it's just an amazing feel good day.
Yeah. Yeah. What time of the year do you typically have it?
It's August. It's usually the last weekend of August.
Okay.
So it's
coming
warm.
Up soon. Yeah. Yeah.
It is.
Right.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. Well, and then what's
yeah. Sorry.
No, I was just going to ask the pig out for Parkinson's. I don't know much about that one.
Yeah, so the Pig Out for Parkinson's, it was created because we had a gentleman who had Parkinson's disease living at Meadowlark, and his sons, Bud and Bob Cox, owned Cox Brothers Barbecue here. And so I just felt like, we needed to do something to help get the word out to our community about what Parkinson's is and who the program is and how you can help people. So I just asked Bud and Bob, hey, April's Parkinson's Awareness Month. Is there anything we could do to, collaborate and make something more tangible for people and maybe raise a little bit of money at the same time? And so we started that. This year was our 15th annual. And, I think the best thing that has come out of that is our Young Onset group, because we have had so many people that have come to the Pig Out for Parkinson's because they thought they could learn about us without having to be seen, without having to go to the campus, without having to commit. So it's this really indiscreet way to check out our program. And you can't, yeah, once you get drawn in, it's really hard to leave.
I believe it.
But so those folks, we had two gentlemen in particular, David and Matthew, who came 2 years in a row and said, Michelle, we really need support. We need help, but we can't come during the day. We don't feel
Mm,
comfortable going up to a retirement community. We need you to do something else. And so after that second year of hearing that, we started our young onset group,
mm,
and we haven't looked back since. And every year, our goal is if we just meet one new person at Pig
mm,
Out, if just one person learns something or understands that there's help out there, then Pig Out for Parkinson's was
mhm.
successful.
Mm-hmm. That's great. Yeah, it sounds like you've used so many different creative avenues to welcome everybody, foster connections, and I can see how it would expand so widely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, those sound like really neat events. When is the Pig Out for Parkinson's? When is that typically held?
It's always the last Thursday in April. So we
Okay.
just had it.
Okay.
And yeah, it was really great. And this was our best fundraising year for Pig Out for Parkinson's,
Mm,
too. Like I said, we don't typically look at it as a fundraiser, but people's generosity this year was just so amazing. So
wow.
we
Ugh,
we reached two new people and
yeah.
made some good money to help expand our services. So it
Yeah,
was a
well,
good
that's
year.
great. Yeah, that's wonderful. Well, and then if we look ahead, I just wanted to kind of hear in closing, what are some of your hopes for the future of Parkinson's and memory care, both at Meadowlark and across Kansas? And are there any kind of emerging innovations or trends that you're especially excited about?
Um, so, education and training for our leadership staff continues to be a top priority. The Parkinson's world is changing so quickly with so many new treatments, that we really are working hard to stay abreast of all of that information. And we look to the Parkinson's Foundation, who has the team training program. All of our leadership team has participated in that. And we just really feel like that is a great guiding principle for our staff. Um, Another thing is rock steady boxing. We want to continue to expand our classes and our reach with rock steady boxing. I am one of the coaches for rock steady, and I think that's been another one of those highlights for me is being able to work with people, and taking that cognition, the cognitive load, the voicing, the breathing into a different setting other than
Mhm,
sitting down in front of somebody, but taking that out into a more functional, practical world with Rocksteady has been
mhm,
super amazing. So we want to continue with that. And then continuing to reach other areas that are underserved. Like we've been able to work with Western Kansas more, like I was explaining earlier, but there's still other areas in Kansas that need support. And maybe it's all they need is just to zoom in to our monthly education meeting so that they have an easy way of learning and gathering people, but it takes the pressure off of them having to try to create everything.
mhm,
So we just really want to be kind of a steward for other
mhm,
places that want to grow and develop. Um, Parkinson's, unfortunately, it's not going away yet. We're making, not we, but the general research community is making such great strides. And yet we know that it's going to still be here. At least our folks here now need
mhm,
that support and education. And we want to be at the forefront of providing the best for individuals.
mhm. Yeah. Ah,
So
well, that's amazing. Yeah. I feel I've had tears in my eyes for some of your stories on that you've been sharing because you're just doing such amazing work and reaching so many different people all across your region and state. So thank you for the work that you're doing. It's inspirational, I think, to other speech pathologists, other people in the Parkinson's community, even just trying to take away some of the ideas that you're doing, potentially implement them somewhere else. Also, just for people with Parkinson's, letting them know there are resources available for them. So thank you for sharing your story and all the amazing work that you're doing.
it's my pleasure. Thank you.
And Michelle, I also wanted to ask you, since we're celebrating National Speech Language Hearing Month, if you have any thoughts on just our profession in general as we think about it more this month.
Yeah, so I think it's, we're really lucky with the training that we receive to become speech language pathologists, in that it gives us such a diverse set of skills. We have cognition and speech and swallowing and voice and all of these things that can be interlaced in so many other parts of life. And I really feel that if I wouldn't have had the speech language pathology training, that I wouldn't have had as easy of a transition into becoming a program director, in being able to incorporate, the multidisciplinary or interdisciplinary work. But our training, working in rehab or working in any other setting with other professionals, really gave me that confidence and that skill base to really serve those individuals with those neurodegenerative disorders in a very holistic manner. And so I'm really just grateful for being a speech pathologist and for the diversity that it gives us as we move throughout our careers.
I love that. And I think that's also helpful for those who maybe are earlier in their careers or thinking about speech language pathology as a career, maybe in grad school
Mhm.
already, that there are so many opportunities. You certainly don't have to be, is it pigeonholed or pinholed into one
Right,
area, that
right.
there's a lot that you can do. And so I think you're a living testament to all the different areas that you can do, and all the change that you can make. So that I love thinking about it that way. So thank you.
Yes.
In closing, have some credits here. So big thank you to you, Michelle Haub, at Meadowlark. And in the show notes, I'll again put the link for Meadowlark for those interested in learning more about the Parkinson's program or the memory care program, and all the amazing classes and opportunities that you have.
Thank
I
you.
also want to credit our theme song. So at the beginning and end of the podcast, you're hearing Think Loud for Parkinson's by Kindred Spirit and Leo Sayer. And that was a song and video inspired by LSVT Loud speech treatment, developed to raise awareness for Parkinson's worldwide. And that's available for download and streaming on all major music platforms. And the proceeds benefit the UK charity Cure Parkinson's. And I'll link that video in the show notes as well. And they've also recently released an album that can also be purchased with even more songs by some of Britain's greatest talents. And I'll put a link to that album as well. I want to thank our production team, CS Design Studios. They help make the podcast possible. And if you're interested in learning more about LSVT Loud speech therapy or LSVT Big physical or occupational therapy, or to locate therapists in your area, you can check out our website at lsvtglobal.com. I also encourage you to click below to subscribe wherever you get your podcast so that you never miss an episode. And we look forward to thinking big and loud with you again next time. So thank you for joining us.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.